unbiblical just happened in China. And UK, two nations just built exactly what Revelation 13 predicted 2,000 years ago. China's social credit system controls what you buy, where you go, and who you see. Britain's Brit card determines who gets access. You will be shocked when you discover 7 findings that prove the infrastructure for the mark is complete. Discovery number 1. China has already built the beast systems framework. Let me take you to China. Not the China of tourist brochures and ancient temples. The China of 2025. The most surveilled, most monitored, most controlled society in human history. Here's what most people don't understand about China's social credit system. It's not just about credit scores like we have in the West. It's not about whether you pay your bills on time or how much debt you carry. This is something fundamentally different. Something that would have been impossible to implement even 20 years ago. Something that changes the entire relationship between citizen and state. In China today, your behavior determines your access to civilization itself. Let me show you how it works. Every citizen is assigned a score. That score starts at a baseline, usually around 1,000 points. And then everything you do either adds points or subtracts points. Volunteer at a community event. Points added. Attend a government-approved meeting. Bonus points. Sounds positive, right? Like the system rewards good citizenship. But here's the other side. Post something critical of the government on social media. Points deducted. Associate with someone who has a low score. Your score drops too. And the consequences aren't theoretical. They're immediate, automatic, enforced by artificial intelligence that never sleeps, never forgets, and never shows mercy. If your score drops too low, here's what happens. You cannot buy airplane tickets. Banned. The system won't process the transaction. You cannot take high-speed trains. China's advanced rail network, the one that connects the entire country, is off-limits to you. Some citizens with low scores are banned from staying in certain hotels, banned from buying insurance, banned from accessing certain websites. They become digital ghosts, visible to the surveillance system, but invisible to the economy, unable to participate in modern society. And here's what makes this prophetically terrifying. This isn't just about economic transactions. This is about total participation in civilization. Now, let me show you why that matters biblically. Turn to Revelation 13:17. This is the verse that's been studied, debated, and speculated about for nearly 2,000 years. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. No man might buy or sell. For centuries, Bible scholars wondered, how is that even possible? How could anyone prevent all buying and selling? How could such comprehensive control be implemented globally? What technology would make that feasible? China just answered the question. You don't need to physically prevent people from attempting transactions. You don't need guards at every store checking for marks. You don't need a police state manually enforcing compliance. You just need to make the transactions impossible to complete. When your social credit score is too low, your bank account can be frozen. Your credit cards can be deactivated. Your digital wallet can be restricted. Your employer can be pressured to fire you. Your landlord can be incentivized to evict you. And just like Revelation 13 predicts, without the approval of the system, you cannot buy or sell. You cannot participate in society. You become economically erased. But here's what should absolutely chill you. The system doesn't just control behavior through punishment. It corrupts human relationships. When your score can be affected by the people you associate with, you have an incentive to avoid anyone who might be problematic. Anyone who criticizes the government. Anyone who practices unapproved religion. Anyone who thinks differently. When reporting suspicious behavior earns you points, you have an incentive to spy on your neighbors, your co-workers, your family. The system transforms every citizen into an informant. Every social interaction becomes a potential threat to your survival. Trust becomes dangerous. Loyalty becomes conditional on the state's approval. Sound familiar? Because that's exactly the atmosphere the Antichrist will create. Revelation 13 describes a period where betrayal is normal, where family members turn against each other, where no one can be trusted. China is proving it's possible. Not someday. Right now. On 1.4 billion people. But the behavior control is just the foundation. Because what enables this level of comprehensive monitoring, what makes it impossible to escape, is a surveillance infrastructure so advanced it would have seemed like science fiction just a generation ago. And that's where things get even more prophetically alarming. Discovery number 2. The all-seeing eye. Let me show you what's watching the Chinese people every single day. Over 200 million surveillance cameras. 200 million. Connected to a centralized artificial intelligence system that can identify any person, track their movements, analyze their behavior, and predict their actions. They track where you go, who you meet, how long you stay, what you buy, what route you take home. They analyze your gait, the way you walk, so even if you cover your face, the system can still identify you. They read your emotions. The AI can detect if you look nervous, angry, suspicious, and it flags you automatically. In Xinjiang province, the surveillance is so intense that cameras are positioned every few meters. You cannot walk down a street without being monitored, analyzed, and scored. And here's what's prophetically stunning about all of this. Revelation 13:15 describes something that perfectly matches what we're seeing in China right now. Listen to this verse. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. For centuries, scholars struggled with this verse. What is the image of the beast? How could an image speak? How could it identify those who refuse to worship? How could it cause people to be killed? Modern artificial intelligence provides the answer. The image of the beast doesn't have to be a physical statue. It could be an AI system, a digital presence that processes information, makes decisions, and executes judgments with perfect consistency and relentless efficiency. China's surveillance AI already demonstrates these capabilities. It can speak through digital interfaces, mobile apps, automated systems, loudspeakers in public squares. It can identify individuals who engage in disapproved behavior. It can cause harm to those who refuse compliance by freezing their accounts, blocking their access, alerting authorities to arrest them. The system doesn't just watch. It analyzes, it judges, it acts, and it never sleeps, never tires, never shows mercy, never makes exceptions. If Revelation's image of the beast is indeed an AI system, and I'm not saying definitively that it is, but the parallel is undeniable, then China has already built it, already deployed it, already proven it works. But surveillance is only as powerful as the control it enables. And that's where China's third innovation comes in, the one that makes Revelation 13's no buying or selling prophecy not just possible, but inevitable. Because China has created something that changes everything about how money works. And once you see what it does, you'll understand why cash is dying, and why that should terrify every believer who knows their Bible. Discovery number 3. China's digital currency is programmable control. Let me introduce you to the digital yuan, China's central bank digital currency. And this is where ancient prophecy meets modern monetary policy, where the phrase, "no man might buy or sell," becomes a programmable reality, implemented through lines of computer code. The digital yuan isn't just a convenient alternative to cash or credit cards. It's not like Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies that exist outside government control. This is a financial control system so comprehensive that it makes every traditional method of economic control look primitive by comparison. Here's what makes the digital yuan absolutely terrifying from a prophetic perspective. It's programmable money. Let that sink in for a moment. Money that can be programmed. Money that obeys the state, not the individual. Unlike cash, which is anonymous and untraceable once it leaves your hand, digital currency can be programmed with restrictions, expiration dates, and usage limitations that are automatically enforced by the system. Let me show you what that means in practice. The government can program your money so that it can only be spent on approved goods and services. They gave citizens digital yuan that expired if not spent within weeks. The goal was to force spending, to stimulate the economy. But think about the control that gives the government. They can force you to spend, or they can prevent you from saving. Your money might work in your home city, but not if you try to travel to a different province without permission. It might work for food and clothing, but not for luxury items if the government decides you've consumed too much. It might work at state-approved stores, but not at private businesses the government wants to suppress. And here's the most chilling part. The digital yuan is connected to China's social credit system. Your access to money and your ability to use the money you have is directly tied to your behavior, your score, your compliance. If your social credit score drops, your digital wallet can be frozen instantly. Not by a judge, not after a trial, automatically, because the AI determined you're non-compliant. Now listen to Revelation 13:17 again with this technology in mind. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. The technology exists to make this prophecy literal, immediate, and inescapable. But here's what should absolutely terrify every student of biblical prophecy. China's digital currency system isn't staying in China. The technology is being exported. Through China's Belt and Road Initiative, they're sharing this system with over 80 nations. Central banks around the world, including the European Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, are developing their own digital currencies based on similar technological frameworks. The infrastructure is going global, and that brings us to November 3rd, 2025, the day the United Kingdom announced they're implementing the missing piece, the piece that makes the whole system work, the universal biometric identity that determines who gets access and who gets locked out. Because China built the control mechanism, but the UK just built the key. November 3rd, 2025. While most of the world was focused on elections and economic news and Middle East conflicts, something happened in the United Kingdom that stopped prophecy watchers dead in their tracks. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper and Digital Minister Peter Kyle stood before cameras and made an announcement that changed everything. They announced Brit card. Let me read you the exact description from the government's press release, because every word matters. Brit card is a free government-issued digital identity intended to become mandatory for all UK citizens and legal residents within the next 18 to 24 months. BritCard will serve as the cornerstone of a unified national identity infrastructure, integrating previously fragmented systems, NHS numbers, driving licenses, tax IDs, into a single biometric-linked digital profile. Read that again. A single biometric-linked digital profile. Everything about you, your medical history, your financial records, your employment, your travel, your identification, all connected to your biological data, your face, your fingerprints, managed by the government, soon to be mandatory. Now, they're not saying we're creating a totalitarian control grid. They're saying we're making life more convenient. We're protecting you from fraud. We're streamlining services. We're modernizing society. But let me show you what this system actually is. Let me break down the features, because this is where it gets very, very concerning. Feature 1. Biometric enrollment. To get a BritCard, you must undergo biometric enrollment. That means mandatory facial recognition scan, mandatory fingerprint scan. These are required, not optional. Required. You'll either go in person to a post office to have these scans done, or you'll use a certified app that captures your facial biometrics and fingerprints through your smartphone camera and screen. Your face, your fingerprints, captured, stored, linked permanently to your identity. Now, think about the biblical description we'll examine more closely in a moment. Revelation talks about a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Forehead, facial recognition. Right hand, fingerprint scan. The biological data points are already being collected and stored. Feature 2. Centralized database. All of this data, your biometrics, your personal information, your entire identity, will be stored in what they're calling the National Identity Register, version 2 NIR2. This is significant because the UK actually tried to do this before. In 2006, they attempted to create a national ID card system with a central database. It was massively unpopular. Civil liberties groups protested. Privacy advocates warned it was Orwellian, and it was eventually scrapped in 2010. So why are they trying again? And why now? The government says technology has improved. Security is better. The threats are greater. We need this for protection. But here's what's actually different this time. The infrastructure exists now. The digital systems are in place. The banking integration is ready. The surveillance technology has matured. Feature 3. Mandatory integration. This is where it gets really invasive. BritCard isn't just an ID card you carry in your wallet. It's mandatory integration with every essential service in your life. Banking. You'll need BritCard to open a bank account, get a mortgage, or conduct large cash transactions. NHS and health records. Your medical history, prescriptions, treatment records, all connected to BritCard. Travel, e-gates at airports, train stations, rail passes, all requiring BritCard verification. Employment and benefits. You won't be able to work legally or receive government assistance without BritCard. Online age verification. Under Ofcom rules, accessing certain websites and services will require BritCard authentication. Let me emphasize this. Every essential service, every part of normal life, all connected, all controlled through this single system. Feature 4. The timeline. Now here's where the government's strategy becomes crystal clear. They're not implementing this all at once. They're doing it in phases. Phase 1, 2026. Voluntary opt-in with incentives. They'll offer faster services, easier access, convenience benefits for early adopters. Get people used to it. Make it seem normal. Build acceptance. Phase 2, 2027. First quarter. Required for new bank accounts, mortgages, and large cash transactions. Now it's not voluntary anymore. But they'll say, well, you can still function without it, just not as easily. Phase 3, 2028. Full mandate. No Brit card equals no access to essential services. You cannot work. You cannot bank. You cannot travel. You cannot function in society. Keep that timeline in mind. 2026 to 2028. 3 years from voluntary to mandatory. From convenience to control. From optional to essential for survival. Feature 5. Now let me show you the full picture of what this creates. Imagine a system where your biological data, face and fingerprints, is stored in a government database. Every financial transaction requires verification through this system. Every essential service, banking, healthcare, travel, employment, is connected. Non-compliance results in automatic exclusion from society. Does that sound like anything you've read about in the Bible? Because it should. Because Revelation 13 describes exactly this kind of system. And the parallels are so precise that you can't dismiss them as coincidence. Let me show you what John saw 2,000 years ago, and then show you how China and the UK have built the exact mechanism he described. No one can buy or sell is no longer theoretical. Turn with me to Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 through 18. And I want you to pay attention to every single detail, because what you're about to read isn't ancient history anymore. It's current events. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Let me break down exactly what John is describing here, phrase by phrase. Because this prophecy has been studied for nearly 2,000 years, and suddenly, in 2025, it's not speculative anymore, it's policy. He causeth all, universal, mandatory, enforced. Not some people, not volunteers, not those who choose to participate. All people, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. John is emphasizing that no one escapes this system. It doesn't matter if you're powerful or powerless, wealthy or destitute. In a position of authority or totally subjugated, everyone is subject to the same requirement. Throughout history, there have always been ways for the elite to opt out of inconvenient systems. Laws that apply to common people but not to rulers, requirements that affect the poor but not the rich. But the mark system is different. It's universal. No exceptions, no exemptions. Result: no one can buy or sell without authorization from the system. It's not theoretical anymore. It's not speculative. It's operational in China. It's being implemented in the UK, and it's spreading globally. Now, let me be very clear about something. This is not the mark of the beast. Not yet. The mark itself will be implemented by the Antichrist during the tribulation. It will require not just biometric identification, but worship allegiance. a conscious choice to reject God and serve the beast. But what we're seeing is the infrastructure, the system being built, the technology being tested, the framework being established. And here's what should terrify you. If the infrastructure is complete, the only thing missing is the person who's going to use it. Let me show you how China's enforcement and the UK's identity create the perfect prophetic storm when combined. Let me show you something that's going to make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. When you put China's system and the UK's system side by side, when you see how they complement each other, when you understand how they could integrate globally, you realize they form the exact two-part mechanism Revelation describes. Here's how it works. China equals enforcement. China built the sword, the punishment system, the mechanism that ensures compliance. They have mass surveillance, 200+ million cameras, AI analysis, facial recognition, behavior scoring, social credit system that tracks everything you do, programmable currency, digital yuan that can be frozen, restricted, programmed, automated punishment, low scores equals automatic loss of privileges, loyalty tests, worship of the state required for full participation. If you don't comply in China, the system automatically punishes you. No trial, no appeal, just instant restriction. UK equals identity. The UK built the key, the access point, the verification system that determines who gets in. They have universal biometric ID, Brit card with facial recognition and fingerprints, centralized database, NIR2 storing everyone's biological data, mandatory integration, banking, healthcare, travel, employment all connected. Phased implementation, voluntary 2026, mandatory 2028. Buy/sell control, cannot bank or work without Brit card. If you don't participate in the UK, the system automatically excludes you. No bank account, no job, no access to society. Now watch what happens when you combine them. China's enforcement plus UK's identity equals Revelation 13's control system. Imagine a global system that uses the UK's biometric identity to determine who you are, China's surveillance to monitor what you do, China's social credit to score how you behave, the UK's mandatory integration to control where you access, China's programmable currency to enforce buying and selling. That's not a future scenario. That's two operational systems that already exist. They're just in different countries. But
many seem to be confused because they do not understand the book of Revelation. However, what if there was an animation showing the entire book? Well, we created that. And to watch that, click here.